Want to Tempo Us podcast, episode America 250, the blueprint. Welcome to the Want to Tempo Us podcast. I'm your host, David Tanner. Originally, I had a completely different episode planned for this week, but after spending the week in Colorado at the Triple Crown Sparkler, those plans changed. If you know, you know. Hashtag IYKYK. Now, those 5 little letters caused quite a bit of a stir at last year's 12U Sparkler. But seriously, you don't know how good the competition truly is until you intentionally go and find it. And that's true whether you're coaching a football team, raising a daughter, leading a business, or simply trying to become a better version of yourself. It's really easy to stay where you're comfortable. It's easy to stay where you're the big dog, where you're the show that everybody came to see. But it takes humility, it takes courage, it takes risk to intentionally seek out competition that pushes you beyond your current capabilities. And that's exactly what this week was. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Triple Crown Sparkler, let me explain. More than 320 elite F14U teams from across the country come together to compete. From that field, roughly 60 are selected to compete in what's called the National Power Pool. And that's based upon your resume and your previous performances. This year, only 7 first-year 14U teams, or 13U teams, the class of 2030, received that invitation. We, and when I say we, Indiana Magic Gold 2030 Futures, were fortunate enough to be one of them. So, for the first time in a long time, our girls walked into a tournament as the underdog. And there's a big difference between walking into competition with a target on your back and walking in with a chip on your shoulder. This week, the chip won. Not because we won every game, far from it, but because we found something even more valuable than another championship. On paper, we finished 4-4, 3-3 in pool play, 1-1 in bracket play. But I don't think those will be the numbers that people will remember. What I remember is this. We learned more in 8 games than we learned winning any of the championships that we've won and the tons of games that we've won before. And as Chloe's dad, and also as the person who is responsible for much of her day-to-day preparation, I left Colorado with something incredibly valuable, a blueprint. Not discouragement, not frustration, a blueprint. On paper, Chloe finished 3-2 in the circle as a pitcher. She had some really good outings, and she had a few tough innings. But those results provided something much deeper than wins and losses. They provided true feedback. They provided growth targets, skills that need to be acquired, habits that need to become daily discipline, goals that are now worth attacking. Now, feedback only hurts when your identity is tied to the outcome instead of the process. Sometimes reality is the greatest gift you can receive. Now, goals will tell you where to go. The goals from the gift that we receive tell us where you want to go. Reality tells you how to get there. This week, we were able to witness out on the field what strength looks like at an elite level, what speed looks like at an elite level, what consistency looks like, what elite preparation looks like. Now, that gives us the blueprint for where exactly we need to be 365 days from now when we return next year. Now, the work now, it has direction. So sometimes losing isn't the setback. Not knowing what greatness looks like is. And have you stayed in your comfort zone? And we stayed in our comfort zone and not went and played against the best competition in the 14U National Power Pool, we wouldn't have seen where we need to be next year. Now it's just about putting in the work. So now let me tell you something that in this week that probably impressed me even more. It was Friday. A day off for everyone who wasn't the number 1 seed playing in the TV bracket. The number 1 seeds in the National Power Pool all played in the TV bracket. All right, so they ended up playing 3 additional games potentially on that day. But for everybody else, there was no games. You've been there the entire week. You got a potential day off. But at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we drove over to DBAT, indoor practice facility. And I won't say I'm surprised, but instead of seeing, girls were out. They were hitting. Girls were putting in the work. It was packed by girls from everywhere in the country on a hunt for greatness. Everyone was chasing one more quality rep, one more swing, one more opportunity to improve. Now, along with this going on, I will share a little story. There was a sideshow that was there for our entertainment, for the parents' entertainment, and probably to some of the kids' surprise. There was a guy I would call the Hack Attack Dad. All right, he showed up with his own Hack Attack machine, put it into the cage. Him and his daughter were in there. I'm telling you, this guy was absolutely nuts, cuckoo, absolutely insane. He and his daughter became the sideshow. I mean, they were at each other's throats the entire time. And at one point, he yelled, "You listen like my first wife." My immediate thought was, so how many wives have there been? Just out of curiosity. But underneath that show was something that's really important. Right? He was there. He was there working, helping, investing. Just like everyone else, because the best players weren't resting because they had earned it. They were working because they hadn't earned it yet. So that action in there with the Hack Attack Dad reminded me of something that I often talk about. I call it the parent paradox. It's high investment. There is no doubt that the thing that we as parents are most invested into is what our sons or daughters are doing. You know, in our case, our daughters that are playing softball, we're highly invested in it. But we have very low control over the outcomes. So as parents, we can't throw one single pitch. We can't take one at bat. We can't field one ground ball. But we're involved in the influence of everything related to preparation. So our job, we can create opportunities. We can help build habits. We can help our kids become ready for the moments that they don't control. So the preparation belongs to us, but the performance belongs to them. That's our job. The hard part is managing our emotions when they fail and allowing them to do something that I believed in my entire coaching career: fail forward fast. Now, each year, the Colorado Sparkler is centered around the July 4th holiday. This year just happened to be America's 250th birthday celebration. So sometime during the week, I realized I wasn't just watching softball. I was watching America. I was watching thousands of families from every corner of this great country chasing dreams with their kids. Parents investing their vacation time, their money, their energy, their emotional investment, not because they had to, but because they wanted to create opportunities. And honestly, along with creating those opportunities, the moments between games may have been just as meaningful. For instance, our trip to Estes National Park. Prior to the park, we stopped at some shops. You know, obviously, I'm with two girls, the wife and the daughter, so we're going to shop. But I did buy myself a pair of Meta sunglasses. And as we were driving up to Estes National Park, just per the norm, I couldn't figure out technology. Couldn't get them to hold the charge. We're trying to figure out how to get them charged. I wanted to use them when we got up there so I could take some pictures of the mountains and everything in between, potential wildlife. So we made a pull-off right before we got to Estes National Park. And more to me mess with my sunglasses and Heather get her camera out in order to take some pictures of some of the mountain views where we pulled off. And as we pulled off, I'm messing with the sunglasses. She's getting her technology together. Chloe got out and walked over to the rocks. And about 2 minutes later, we followed. And when we got over there, Chloe was sitting on the rocks, and she had a bag of peanuts, and someone gave her, and she was feeding a chipmunk. I'm like, okay, she's feeding a chipmunk. And I look around, she goes, "Look, Dad." And I'm like watching her feed a chipmunk. And then she handed me some peanuts. I started doing it. But these chipmunks were friendly enough that at one point in time, a couple of them were actually up on Chloe's leg, sitting on her leg, and she was feeding them peanuts. We stayed there for about 15 minutes, took some family photos and such. Then we got back in the car. And when we got back in the car, Chloe said, "That made my week." And I'm like, "We haven't even played in the first softball game yet. How'd that make your week?" She goes, "Well, when I was a little kid, you guys got me a book, And the book, it wasn't Alvin and the Chipmunks. It was a book in which a little girl befriended some chipmunks, and they were her friends. And she remembered that book. Now, Heather and I, we don't remember it at all. I don't remember the book, but it had a profound impact on her. And that moment made her week. And as parents, that makes our week. It was awesome to see her to be able to do it. And it was fun to go and feed the chipmunks and see the mountain views and everything in between. But, those moments make memories. Also, during the week, as you're kind of watching this, there was a realization for me. There are a lot of families that may they might join a swimming club, they might join a country club, a golf club, whatever it may be. They go and do that. We're part of a travel softball parent social club. Whether we realize it or not, that's what we've done by investing together. We end up all these trips, hotels, Airbnbs together, and we do things as a IMG family. One of those things we did this year, we went whitewater rafting. We did the same thing last year. We went whitewater rafting. But last year when we were rafting, it was a beginner's course. So we basically just floated down the river. This year, we went to the advanced course. This year, we attacked some real rapids, several level 4 rapids on the way. So we attacked the rapids, or more appropriately, the rapids attacked us. Over half of our group went into the river at some point in time. So it was an adventure. Now, an adventure that we enjoyed really with our IMG family. So those are memories, those are relationships, those are gifts. So softball games eventually end. Those moments don't. They stay with you. It also made me reflect on my own parents. They gave me everything they possibly could. They couldn't have provided the opportunities that we've been able to provide, Heather and I have been able to provide for Chloe. Not because they failed, far from it. Because every generation hopes to hand the next generation just a little more opportunity than they had themselves. To me, that's the American story. So when people ask whether opportunity still exists in this country, I don't have to argue. I watched it for 8 straight days. Parents, coaches, kids, working, dreaming, sacrificing, improving, achieving together. Opportunity isn't promised, but it exists for those who are willing to pursue it. Now, before I shift gears completely away from the family-centric part of this podcast, I want to take a moment in order to, before I even get into that moment, let me give you a little background story. Okay? In 2001, my wife and I got married on July 7th, today. Okay, so several years ago. So when we got married on July 7th, about 8 days after that, I was working out Wyatt Rager, one of our defensive ends at Culver Stockton College, out on the field, and I lost my wedding ring somewhere on the field. So lost the ring, searched for it frantically, even went to Walmart and bought a metal detector, took it out on the field, and walked around with it, looked everywhere, could not find it. So either we bought a ring that wasn't made of metal, or Wyatt shoved it in his shoe and went and pawned it in order to get a case of beer or something. I'm not 100% sure. So, but from there, about a decade later, we were down in Florida and we were swimming in the ocean. Got hit by a wave. Ring came off. Down goes ring number 2. Now, last week, whitewater rafting. I think you could probably fill in the rest of this story. As we were going out, we hit a rock. We stuck. I got ejected from the boat. When I got ejected from the boat, the ring slipped off my finger and is now somewhere at the bottom of the Poudre River. So ring number 3 down. Okay, so I think I got to get a new ring. But before we do that, I want to take this opportunity to wish my beautiful wife, Heather, a happy 25th anniversary. None of this happens without her. She sacrifices, she supports, she believes. She puts our family first. She allows me to coach. She's allowed me to coach for now working on 27 years. So for 27 years, she ends up being a coaching widow for about 3 months out of the year. Couldn't ask for a better coaching wife. She allows Chloe to chase her dreams. Now she's developed in that dream chasing for Chloe, she's developed a bat fetish of sorts where she buys her every single bat you can possibly find. So she promotes pushing that dream, but she allows Chloe to chase her dreams. She is the steady force behind everything we do. Heather, thank you for believing in our dreams. Thank you for an incredible 25 years. I love you. Happy 250th birthday, America, and may God bless you in your pursuit of personal excellence. Now, to review and jump back to our personal excellence strategy podcast we had a few weeks ago. Personal excellence is not comparing yourself to everyone else. It's not complaining. It's not making excuses. It's seeking better competition. And I think that is probably the number one takeaway from this past 8 days for the Indiana Magic Gold team, going and playing in that national power pool. But it's also about finding your weaknesses and then using those weaknesses to build yourself a blueprint or a plan to go and execute. And as they search for their next 365 days until they get the opportunity in order to return to the Colorado Sparkler as a 14U team, we also should be looking at our blueprint individually as we develop our goal of personal excellence and doing the work. And in the process, we need to show gratitude for the opportunities that we have each and every single day. Then we need to repeat the process over and over and over again. Develop consistency and discipline in our pursuit of personal excellence. Now that's the lesson. Now here's the application and the challenge. This week, ask yourself one question. Where do you need to intentionally wear a chip on your shoulder as the underdog? Maybe it's in business. Maybe it's in parenting. Maybe it's in coaching. And as Chloe's personal coach, working with her every single day on her softball development, I took several plans away from this past week, and we've already started the process. One of the things that we're implementing that we've done a little bit of, but we're going to now add into full stock, is watching film. Something that, as a college football coach, I spend a ton of my life doing, watching film. But it's something as a youth softball, she's spent a little bit of time mostly watching herself. But now it's dive into all of these pitchers that we now have been able to see on film and investigate them, see them as pitchers, see what their plans were, not only for what she will take onto the plate when she goes to hit, but also things that she can learn and continue to develop her craft as a pitcher. So film is an area. We also know that we're going to search out and find ways to get her on, and this is not because of the Hack Attack dad, but we've also worked a little bit with PVS Baseball and a programmed Hack Attack where we can get more time on a machine and see different spins and high-level spins and put into it. But you develop a plan for how you expand your coaching. And it's something I've done throughout my entire career when it comes to coaching, is you build a plan for how you're going to develop the student athletes that you work with. Those individualized plans and processes is what allows for the development of a student athlete over a 4 or 5 year period. I think one of the podcast idea that I actually put on the back shelf for this week was the movement of recruiting into, we've already talked a little bit about recruiting in a previous podcast, but this was the 5 to play 5, how that's going to impact and change things even more in recruiting. So we'll jump back into that, but the marathon of growth in coaching, when it comes to your own kids and parenting, you got an opportunity in order to work with them for extended periods of time. That being said, there has to be a sense of urgency in what you do. Now, maybe the area you want to challenge yourself to wear a chip on your shoulder as an underdog is in your own personal fitness. It's one of the areas that I've challenged myself on many different occasions, but I'm taking a little bit different approach to it with this last challenge. And I know I've also mentioned this before, but say 6 years ago in 2020, I challenged myself to run a marathon. I ran that marathon. But in the process of running that marathon, I continued to feel weaker as I got down there as far as physical strength. And being an offensive lineman and I'm really a strength athlete and from a strength athlete family, that's not something I wanted to do. But also, something that's avoided me my entire life is having a really, let's say, uh, be jacked, to still work, but to actually look like you're much more toned in your approach. So that's one of the things that I'm looking to do personally. Now, one of the challenges that come up every time you get yourself into shape when you're a college coach and now a travel ball parent is when the travel ball parent is the travel side of things. We spend a lot of weekends and a lot of weeks together, which is great, but it also provides a real quick and easy opportunity to lose your discipline. And I would call it fitness when it's inconvenient. So for the past 8 days, that was something that was a focus of mine when we left and went to Colorado. And if you have one of those weeks or one of those times coming up, maybe that's the area where you need to intentionally challenge yourself as an underdog to wear a chip on your shoulder and get the work in. But in order to do so, you have to have a blueprint in order to do it. And then use that blueprint or plan, the self-discipline to execute upon the blueprint. One of this past week, the thing that I decided to do was real simple. Day one, we got there. I was going to get a membership or short-term membership at a gym. Fortunately, we found 24-Hour Fitness was a place that had the ability to get a free week-long membership, trial membership. Was able to do that on starting on day one, carry it for the week while we were out there, and be able to use the gym each and every day prior to people getting up. And it had to be part of the plan because once everybody's up and moving and you're at an Airbnb and you're playing in softball games, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to carve out the time in order to train. So you find the gym and know when you're going to use the gym. Also, make a nutritional plan that you can follow. And it's something that will get you the necessary macronutrients into your body in order to be successful at your transformation that you're wanting to continue and not fall off. I've coached college football for 22 years, coached football for 27 years, and every single year, flowed into the start of August, there's an opportunity to fall off a nutrition and health cliff, per se, because you go into 80-plus hour weeks for about a 3 or 4 month period, and it's not convenient, and it's highly inconvenient to eat a structured plan. The years that I've done well during those times is because I've had a blueprint to follow. Last year was one of those years, and it was because I was doing 75 hard at that time. So now this year, I have a nutritional plan that I think is sustainable going into it. Now, this nutritional plan is the idea that, one, about a couple months ago, I made a decision I was going to get back in and truly lift heavy weights and do it in the gym again. Even though I'm 49 years old, I'm going to lift heavy for me, right? But I want to train so I can be strong as I make the cut down from a personal standpoint. That nutritional plan, though, is focused around getting enough protein in my body every single day. So I'm a protein-first diet, meaning that in a day, right now, my goal weight is to get down to around 240 pounds. I started this transformation about 280. I'm about halfway down to that 240 now. But the idea of that protein first is I'm going to need 240 grams of protein in my diet for a day, which is about 75 to 80 grams per meal as we go. Eat that first. When you eat that first, get finished with eating it, then eat a little bit of whatever else you have, but don't try to finish the plate. But I found that when I start with that protein first, it fills me earlier. I eat a lot less of the sides. Don't start with the bread. It just seems to motivate you to eat more and more and more. The third area for these trips we go into, I want to limit alcohol. I'm not saying I'm not going to drink anything, but I'm going to limit it. We were there for 8 days. There was one day in which I probably drank a couple more drinks than what I would have wanted to, which was one on a single day. That was the goal going into it. Still didn't drink a lot on that day, so I was able to maintain some level of nutritional balance into it. But you have to have a blueprint for something and a plan in order to go and execute. The next thing is, I think this is extremely important. Stop surrounding yourself with people who tell you it's okay. Right? Don't have someone around you that when the bread appetizer comes out and goes, they go, oh, it's okay if you can have a little bit. No, don't. If you have a disciplined diet and blueprint to follow, follow the plan. Be self-disciplined enough in order to execute upon it. Don't surround yourself with people who constantly confirm how good you are. If you are pursuing putting a chip on your shoulder and functioning as an underdog so that you're trying to prove something to yourself and those that are around you, stop surrounding yourself with people who constantly confirm how good you are. Okay? Start surrounding yourself with people who show you how much better you can become. Go and seek greater competition. Go and seek a challenge. Challenge yourself each and every single day. The biggest limitation that you have to reaching the goals that are in front of you and the goals that you want to get to is comfort. Don't seek comfort. Seek challenge. You seek challenge on a daily basis, the scoreboard starts taking care of itself. Championships will come. Now, championships are rewarding, but that's not the goal. The goal is to stick to that process. The championships will come. The scoreboard takes care of itself. Now, while those championships are rewarding, reality, though, creates growth. You have to take an honest approach to what you're doing. Look at yourself. Invest in yourself. The biggest and greatest investment that you make is the investment that you put into your own development and your own personal excellence. Until next time, maximize your prime and dominate your day. Want to tempo us. Thank you for being a part of the Want to Tempo Us community. If today's episode brought you value, subscribe so you don't miss future messages. If you know a coach, parent, player, teammate, leader, or competitor who would benefit from this message, share it with them. For additional resources, leadership content, and upcoming projects, visit wanttotempous.com. And if there's a question, challenge, or topic you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, we'd love to hear from you. Remember, the game of life is played every day. Focus on what you can influence. Compete relentlessly. Raise the standard. Develop people. Until next time, Want to Tempo Us.